What is up, boys and girls? This is the WMMA Today podcast with Drake Riggs and me, Steve King. We have a lot to talk about this week. One, Unbreakable II, and then a bunch of news, like
a lot of news.
A lot of things happening. Fights being bumped down, fighter being out, somebody stepping in,
suspensions,
tournament, suspension, just a lot of shit going on. And then finally, a UFC Vegas 18 preview, which is coming up on this Saturday. And then also we have Twitter questions, and of course, any questions that you all might have for us live, and we'll talk about whatever you want. So let's get this thing going with the one Unbreakable II recap with Sovereignty M beating Choi Jong Yun by punches.
Yep, got her in the crucifix, and that was a Rapski. Yeah, just a dominant performance from Sovereignty M. Really looked very good, imposed her will, just gave Choi no room to breathe. Really, just got in her face immediately and made it a nice, ugly, grimy grind fest of a fight. And that was the wise choice, obviously. So she went in there, did her thing, got plenty of takedowns. Like, I should have kept track, but she hit at least like 3 in the first round.
It was for sure 3 in the first round.
Yeah, she was having her way. Just Choi could not match that pace and keep her off of her end. Ultimately, fell into one of the worst spots you can, which is the old crucifix, and that was a wrap. So a very good performance from Sovereignty M, and a good solid win. And yeah, she looked very good. She looked very good.
Yeah, I mean, it just went to the second round. Halfway through the second round, good solid performance from Sovereignty M. It was a good fight. Good fight for her.
Yeah, very nice win. And the funny thing is, though, it's like, all right, where do we go? Unless I got my weight wrong on this, but it was a catch weight of 137 pounds, which is like, they didn't look that big. So I might have the weight actually wrong on that, but also, like, one doesn't have a bantamweight division, or so that was the weirdest note about this whole fight for me. But I'm very curious to see what is next for M, and if that is proper weight. I should probably know if that is actually she fights at bantamweight normally or what have you. Interested to see what is next for her, likely outside of one, unless she wants to drop down to their 125-pound strawweight division, which could make an interesting addition to that. If she can make it healthfully and all that, potentially work her way up to fight the Panda, which, judging by that style and game plan she presented in that one, makes for a tough matchup for damn near everybody in the division in one, because not a lot of fighters in the women's divisions put on that kind of pressure that we saw in this fight specifically. Like, just nonstop with it was M. So she's definitely one to watch after this fight.
And then there was those takedowns that just put a dagger into the fight. Like you said, there was just a ton of pressure. She just doesn't. She's relentless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the best way to put it, really. Just no room to breathe. So I'm sure Choi will be back as well. But, of course, big win for M. Very solid performance.
Yep.
And we will see what is next. But I think that's about all to say. I mean, it was really one-way traffic, so there's not much to dissect from that one. But a very good win. If you guys didn't see it, it is on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah.
And keep an eye out for Sovereignty M going forward.
For sure. Watch Sovereignty M.
All right. So that just dives directly into our Twitter mailbag today, you guys, as you start coming in here. But might as well get right into it. Let me pull it up here.
Okay.
We got plenty. I think 4, Steve, unless I missed some. 4 that I saw.
Yeah, I think there were 4.
Let's take a gander. One moment. Here we are. And numero uno from our boy Juicy Man.
All right, so Fighting With Myself podcast, that's at FWM_pod on Twitter. What are y'all's thoughts on Megan Anderson's response to Casey Kenney's comments? If you guys haven't already seen, Casey Kenney was on Sean O'Malley's podcast, I think. I don't know.
Pretty sure.
But yeah, Sean O'Malley was definitely there with his baby, which was fucking weird and all kinds of fucking goofiness going on there anyway. But Casey Kenney added to the goofiness with bringing up Megan Anderson for whatever reason.
The coach asked him.
Yeah,
the coach asked him.
But I mean, okay, but like he didn't have to go into in-depth detail of how she's a 4 and on a good night. Like, it was just fucking weird, like weird ass comments that are pretty much chauvinistic and embarrassing for the UFC. The UFC should be embarrassed by this shit, but they don't give a fuck. They don't care. Nothing will come of it. And what's even more awkward is they're on the same card. Megan Anderson is fighting Amanda Nunes, and Casey Kenney is fighting Dominic Cruz.
They'll be in the same locker because they're both blue corner.
It's so like that's a bunch of awkwardness, man. But yes, Yusef, welcome. You're absolutely right. It's a disgrace and it's embarrassing. Yes. It's shameful. Like, the fuck is wrong with you?
It is, it's, like, just, of course, I agree with Yusef completely, but like the lack of awareness, I guess, like
there's no awareness whatsoever.
Right. To, say that on a public platform, and not that it's better to say it off air, of course, like just to put that out there.
But I mean, if you're going to say something like that about a co-worker, because I mean, this is, you have to look at the UFC as the job.
Mm-hmm.
Megan Anderson, Casey Kenney as the employees. That when it comes to this kind of shit, even though they're independent contractors, whatever, yes, whatever you want to call them, whatever, they're still employed by the UFC. They're fighting under the same banner. You cannot. In what place of work can you get away with this? You can't. You cannot get away with this kind of shit. You can't.
Yeah, that's very true. It's not something that is let to fly, if I can word that properly. People don't let that fly, and for good reason, obviously, because it doesn't make people feel very comfortable. Which is why Megan reacted how she did, and all right to her. She can feel however she wants and say whatever she wants whenever. And I guess technically Kenney can say whatever he wants as well, but like, come on, man.
Can.
Yeah, just you're being a dumbass about it.
Freedom of speech is definitely a thing, but also there are repercussions to what the fuck you say. So, I mean, he's lucky that the UFC doesn't give a shit.
That's the funny thing too, is like for a while, the UFC has apparently had a a code of conduct, right?
Right.
Wow, we've never ever seen that for some reason.
They don't really kind of act like it exists.
Well, code of conducts are available to the public, right? Like that's just how business works. And when you have policies like that, they're available for everybody to see.
Yeah.
But you can't see the UFCs because it's not real. They say that they have one, but if you can't see it, it doesn't exist, right? Like it's pretty cut and dry in that case. And we've obviously seen that, judging by how they have handled many situations over the years, right? Like we could just take one example of Mike Perry. You don't just use him for anything.
and then before that, John Jones.
Right.
Like there's just
even Conor
McGregor. Yeah, I mean the whole Dolly thing. Like, dude, the whole Dolly thing, and nothing happened. Like literally nothing happened. Jumping into the cage of a different organization.
Right.
Like, dude, shit. Just you can't do that kind of shit in a normal real world job. You can't. People would be fired. People would be let go. There would be fucking lawsuits. Like, you know, I mean, shit. Just you can't get away with this kind of crap. Casey Kenney. Drake. You know, I'm not a big fan of Dominic Cruz.
I do.
But I hope to the MMA gods, Dominic Cruz sends that motherfucker to the Shadow Realm. I just don't like, you know, Sean O'Malley. I don't like him. Yeah. So it's kind of like that whole little crew that they had on that podcast,
yeah,
whatever.
Plenty of interesting comments beyond this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like exactly like I've seen, and then the whole baby thing.
Right.
Like it
was a very odd scene, huh? Just like the visual of it.
It was just, yes. Like it was just like I couldn't like I didn't understand what was going on. You know, like I was hearing their stupid words, like the stupidity coming out of their mouths, but then like visually you can see like a bunch of knuckleheads, you know, and it's like, dude, are you not fucking aware of like what that you guys are being watched by a lot?
That's like when you get a little bit too comfortable, right? Like,
yeah, that's like a bunch of dudes hanging out drunk and high and, you know, saying, oh yeah, that chick's hot. I guess I'd fuck her with a bag over her head. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. You know, like a bunch of like sorority boys, frat boys type of shit. You know what I mean? Like a boys club. Like you can't fucking do that though. You can't fucking do that. Especially Sean O'Malley when he has a lot of fans. Like he has a lot of followers. You can't fucking get away with that kind of shit. Casey Kenney's an idiot. Like bottom line, he's a fucking stupid ass.
Yeah, and his apology wasn't that great either. So apology, quote unquote.
Yeah. I mean, is Megan even like whatever? Like, is she even like taking that as an apology? Because it was fucking.
I don't think she is.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty shitty fucking apology. You know.
Yeah, well, it was pretty much him. If you can, you know, read it properly and reading comprehension, he was pretty much saying that he's sorry that she feels that way. So
yeah.
Hey, Moni. Shout out to Moni. Moni is in the building. Yeah. So, and then the coach's comments too. Did you see those? His response.
I did. I mean, they're a bunch of idiots.
Wild week for comments in MMA regarding women. I mean, very wild week.
We get a lot of comments in MMA in general, you know, but there's busier weeks, and this was a busy week, which is weird because it wasn't a Conor McGregor fight week or like a John Jones fight week or anything like that.
It was the aftermath.
Yeah, it was after the Conor McGregor fight. So weird, man. But anyway, Casey Kenney's. I hope Dominic Cruz really does send him to the Shadow Realm. Just fucking finishes this dude. Sends him to MMA purgatory.
Well, you know, I felt that way before these comments, but you know, that's because Dom's my boy. But yes, we can agree on that, of course. And just more fuel for Megan. She, you know, very unfortunately is used to nonsense from the community. So
yeah, but she shouldn't be used to the nonsense from another fighter. Like fans are going to be fans, and they're a bunch of fucking idiots. MMA fans are dumb. But she shouldn't have to put up with this kind of crap from another fighter.
No, and especially one who is directly tied, in the sense of the same card and same company, all that stuff. And just to make, I guess, a quick comparison before we jump to Yusef right there. Like, it's funny that the UFC doesn't do stuff about these kind of things, right? Because if you want to look at something that happened recently with LFA and then Pat Miletich, they enforced that kind of thing.
Dude, they got him out fast.
And that's obviously a significantly smaller promotion, but look at them taking charge in situations. So just kind of funny to see how
also,
MMA works.
LFA, they couldn't afford that backlash that would have came with that had they not let Pat Miletich go. But the UFC, they can brush off bad backlash. I mean, they've had it for years and years and years. Things happen in the UFC, with their fighters and stuff that are their fighters. But they just keep on going. They just keep on trucking, and it's like it gets brushed off and never spoken about. Never brought to light by anybody inside of the UFC.
Yeah, very true. I mean, they respond with no comments. I'm pretty sure that was their exact response to this. I think, like, MMA Fighting, I'm pretty sure somebody asked them about one of these incidents from the week, and they gave no comment.
So you're not going to. They don't. They just don't. They don't give comments on things like this. They never have. Yeah. Dana White has never talked.
Well, actually, there are two cases. Remember, Nate Diaz and Miguel Torres. Pretty much like the only time.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, that was a long time ago. Dude. Yeah, that was like a really long time ago, especially Miguel Torres.
Yeah. Fox days, early Fox days.
That was a long time ago. I think that was probably because they had just gotten their Fox deal, and they, they were trying to get in the good graces of fans, just anybody watching. Right. They just wanted viewership.
Yeah, very true. But now they are rock steady, so.
Yeah, they just keep on going. This is a very small speed bump in the road. It's pretty much non-existent for them.
Yep, unfortunately, but
let's get to Yusef.
Let's get to Yusef, buddy. Thank you as always, sir. A doubleheader for us. Love it.
Yusef asks, how would Joanna Jędrzejczyk and the Shevchenko sisters or any WMMA top tier MMA strikers do at Glory?
All right. This is a fun hypothetical fantasy question. So let's look at the specific names that he is dropping here. Joanna, Valentina, and Antonina. So those three specifically are the names that he's dropping. But of course, we can look at the likes of, let's say, Cyborg and Nunes and GDR, of course. So, like, initially my mind goes right to the kickboxing backgrounds of, like people like Jermaine, even Holly. Yeah, good point. Those fighters, I can imagine doing pretty well, of course. And then Valentina and her sister, and then Joanna, more Muay Thai based, which of course not far off from differences in kickboxing, but of course slight rule changes and all that stuff, different strikes that you can and cannot use. They would, I think they would still do very well, of course. I don't follow the women's side of, or the fighters who are at Glory too much, honestly, but it's safe to assume that they would do pretty well, because these are all top elite strikers, in MMA who have come from pretty similar backgrounds. But when you're taking on fighters who that is their absolute specialty and what they're doing right now, you always got to favor those ones a little bit, especially if they're the very best. So whoever the Glory champ is, like, and then you put Valentina against her, you got to favor the Glory champ, because you're in her world. So there's no reason to think that they would not do very well. These fighters you're listing, Yusef or any top female strikers, but I'm always going to favor the person whose sport the other person is coming into. That's always how I'm going to be.
Agree, but I do think that Jermaine Durandamy and Holly Holm would be best out of all of them.
Yeah.
Like you said, Joanna and Antonina and Valentina are Muay Thai fighters. They were Muay Thai fighters before they turned into MMA fighters. And I mean, Joanna and Valentina fought in Muay Thai a couple of times.
Three times.
3 times, yeah. So they're Muay Thai fighters, but they would do very well in kickboxing, in Glory. They would do very well. When I think of women who would do could be champions in kickboxing, I think of Jermaine Durandamy and Holly Holm. Those are the ones. Holly Holm, because of her, I mean, she has kickboxing. And then also you can throw in like Heather Hardy in there because of her boxing skills, you know, but she also is fairly decent at actually kicking when she lets them go. It's just she holds back a little bit, but when she lets them go, she fucking rips.
I love Heather Hardy, but I don't agree with that so much. Great boxer though, definitely.
Yeah, I think that Jermaine Durandamy would be the one. Like if we're gonna talk about like who would be a champion, it would be Jermaine Durandamy and Holly Holm. And yes, Moni says Holly would be elite no matter what sport she chose. Yeah, I mean she's
proven fact.
Yeah, I mean that is fact. She has become a champion in boxing. She has become a champion in MMA.
Yep, she's undeniably one of the best combat sports athletes, female athletes of all time.
For sure.
So
yes.
Yeah. All right, so I think we answered that about as good as we could. Yusef, thank you for the first one, and then his second question, quite a good one as well.
Okay, so is Suarez, that's Tatiana Suarez versus Mackenzie Dern, competitive due to the submission threat?
100%. 100%. That's a very, very fantastic and interesting matchup.
That's high level.
The more I don't think I've ever considered this matchup happening until you presented it right now, Yusef. So that is awesome, and I hope we get to see that one day. And especially with Mackenzie's continued striking improvements, as we've seen in her last couple fights, especially this one with Verna. And she's always had power, but her technique is getting better and better. Of course, the BJJ, top notch, top of the line. And of course, we know the big problem with Mackenzie Dern is the fact that she has no idea how to get takedowns, and it's not like she would be able to take down Tatiana Suarez anyway. So that fight would be, I would have to imagine that matchup plays out predominantly on the feet, unless Tatiana feels like she wants to play on the ground, which I believe she's probably smart enough not to do that. I'm going to believe in her to not be dumb and do that. So then on the feet, it would be very interesting and pretty competitive. Like I said, maybe 2 weeks ago or whenever we were asked about Tatiana, I feel like her striking is serviceable at kind of best right now. It's not bad. It's not good, not great, but it's very solid. And we don't really get to see her utilize or win fights that way too. So it's still hard to judge, but from what we have seen, it's kind of there to set up, her wrestling and all that kind of stuff. Just the secondary approach that she has. Whereas with Mackenzie Dern, we've seen that she, can do fine. They can do pretty fine in that area, especially in that last fight with Verna, who's much improved as well. So I think that would be a very, very close and interesting fight indeed, just considering it, especially considering, their grappling strengths, what they're good at, what they're best at.
So Moni says, imagine if they didn't go to the ground. Dude, my fucking head would explode. All right, so this is another one of those fights. Like, yeah, I want to see them go to the ground. I want to see what Tatiana Suarez would have against a fantastic, one of the best BJJ practitioners in MMA. Like in general, male or female. Mackenzie Dern is top level, dude. Like, she's a fucking monster on the ground. She's a fucking monster. Tatiana Suarez is very good at wrestling. So it's BJJ versus a wrestler. I want to see it. I love that. Give it to me, please. If they were to ever make this fight, and if they didn't, I might quit this fucking podcast. I mean, we're going through like a lot of fights, you know, where we think we might see a lot of, you know, ground game. It doesn't fucking happen. It just doesn't happen, and it rattles me. Like, I get fucking pissed. You know, and
play to your strengths. God damn it!
Drake and I were talking before we came on. We got Cameron Usman versus Gilbert Burns next week. That's another one. A wrestler versus a great BJJ guy. Like, that shit better go to the fucking ground. I don't think that it will, because Usman is too goddamn smart. But Gilbert Burns is another one who's an absolute fucking monster.
Yeah, very much so.
This is Suarez and Dern is kind of like Usman and Burns.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid comparison. Yeah. So, oh boy, Stamina puts out that juju, that bad juju.
Suarez versus Dern equals 15 minutes of clinch, wall, and stall just to watch Steve fucking combust. The TV might actually get broken.
This might be the day, but
it's made it through some shit already.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, that's definitely a competitive fight, I think. Yusef, and the interesting thing to wrap up here, though, is like, if Tatiana could nullify that, which we saw Verna able to nullify it in the very brief moments of when they were on the ground, but Verna did so after, you know, hurting Mackenzie, and then also Verna knows a little bit more what to expect in the submission threats than Tatiana will. Just inevitably, that's how it is, because Verna's one of the very best as well on the ground. So traditionally, you know, historically, we have seen that the wrestler kind of falls to the BJJ master, but it's hard to tell with that one, especially all things considered, where Tatiana will be when she returns, and yada yada. Hope to see it though. Hope to find out one day. So
it would be a great fight. I think. Like, I'm actually like hyped for it now that we're talking about it. I want to see it now. You know, but I mean, hopefully we do.
Indeed.
I just want to see Tatiana back.
That is,
like, you know, I mean, we got to start with Tatiana Suarez being back.
Yeah, first and first, mostly, as one Bobby Bottle Service would say. Shout out to the select few who will understand that reference. Moving on to Alex.
Okay, Alex, who is here with us, asks, what is Molly McCann's ceiling in the flyweight division, and what would you rate her nickname? So I'll start with the nickname, Meatball. I think it's hilarious, and I love it. I love meatballs, and I have a story about meatballs. So I was around, I don't know, 16, 17 or so. I was wrestling at them, and my mom is a nurse, and she brought me a meatball sandwich home for lunch, and I was in a massive hurry, right? I was in a massive hurry. Just, I'm always in a hurry as it is, but it was worse at that time, apparently. So I was eating the meatball, and the sandwich, and I fucking swallowed a whole meatball.
Oh my god.
Dude, I almost died. Like, if my mom wasn't home, I wouldn't be here with you guys today because of a goddamn meatball.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom literally had to save my life because of a stupid fucking meatball.
So do you like meatballs after that?
Oh, dude, I love them.
It didn't deter you
So, well, it did. It did
for a
while.
little bit, a little
Yeah,
trauma.
I didn't. I don't think I ate them for a couple of years. But then, I mean, I couldn't like go the rest of my life without eating meatballs.
Right, come on.
I mean, I just couldn't go the rest of my life without eating meatballs. You know, I like balls in my throat.
Right.
That's why I like balls in my throat now. I really like balls in my throat because of the meatball.
That took quite a turn. That's just the pageantry you get with us, everybody. And welcome, Keyboard Warriors MMA. Good to see you. Thank
Eddie,
you for stopping
Eddie,
by.
welcome.
As for the question, though, yeah, no, it's a fantastic nickname, and the story behind it is the
It's
funny,
not better than mine.
best part.
It's not better than my story.
Yeah, well, no, yours is quite something else, a little bit crazier than me, than Molly. I think she was getting Subway or something, and then she went to train, and everyone's like, "You smell like meatballs," and that's how that started.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Something like that.
And
So,
she's kind of like a meatball, the size of a meatball too. She's rounded out and shit.
Yeah, yep, compact flyweight.
Yeah.
No knock on her. So yeah, it's very fitting. And Meatball Molly, it just rolls together too. Rolls. See what I did there? So yeah, very, very good nickname indeed, and very memorable, So that always helps. And then her ceiling in the flyweight division, man, that's a tough one. It's like she was on such a roll. Remember, she was, again, look at me with the puns. I'm not meaning to do this. Meatball was on a roll after her UFC debut when she lost to Jillian Robertson, got that streak together. I believe it was 3 in a row. Don't have her record up right this second, but was looking great. And then they matched her with Tyler Santos, who at the time I was like, what the fuck is this all about? And then Tyler showed us what the fuck it was all up about that. And since then, well, I guess that was just the one fight. She hasn't fought since then, but she had so much momentum and was looking so good. And I don't know, it's hard to tell because that was a pretty dominant victory on Santos's end. So this fight that she has this weekend will be very telling. And of course we will get to that. But at the moment, just judging by how that last fight, her ceiling, I could see being around 10 in the rankings. It's hard to tell. It is hard to tell, but I don't see it being too high just yet. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that she's a good fighter. She's definitely fun. She's entertaining for sure. But I do think that she's around 10-ish. Yeah. Ceiling around 10 in the flyweight division. I don't think that it's going to be much better.
Especially as the division gets tougher too, because as we've been talking about, and pretty much since the end of last year, it's getting very good, very good. Mr. Beckham wants to share a beer with you, Steve. Is there a story to this?
No. I just go around sharing beers with people.
As you do. Not anymore, though. Pre-pandemic, you guys.
Yeah, we like beer around here, so.
Absolutely. But all right, good question, Alex, for 1 of 2. Cheers to that, everybody. Indeed, making me thirsty. But we will move on to his second half, and this is a very fun question indeed. So,
oh boy, okay, so
loaded.
If Ronda were to unretire and fight again, how many of the top 15 bantamweights would she beat? Please try and remove your hate and bias. How did that go, Alex? How did that go? So as you can see, it's not really.
We'll start with the top 10.
Okay, so the top 10. Amanda Nunes, champion. She's already lost to her.
Yep.
We're assuming that she would lose again, right?
Oh, yeah. No question.
Jermaine Durand to me.
Yeah, that one wouldn't be very good either. I would take Jermaine in that one. Of course.
The striking difference between the two is fucking crazy.
Oh yeah. Beyond it.
Jermaine, we literally talk about Jermaine Durand being one of the best strikers in women's combat sports.
In MMA.
In MMA in general, right? So I mean, and from what we saw with Ronda Rousey, she had no striking. So
no, Ronda would, of course, have to run in, get a hold of her, and as she's running in, she's gonna eat, the bombs.
Yeah, she would absolutely
those Iron Lady fists. So that would be very bad, I think. And then Holly, of course, I don't think that goes much differently either.
Yeah, I don't think that it would. I don't think that it would be the same where she would get fucking head kicked to hell, but I think it would go the same way though. Holly Holm would she's one of the best strikers in MMA.
Right.
Yusef thinks that she beats everyone besides Holm and Nunes.
Bold.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said everybody but the top 5.
All right. Well, let's keep moving down here. Aspen Ladd.
So Aspen Ladd, she gets killed by Aspen Ladd.
Yeah, that one's a rough one too.
That would be a very bad fight for Ronda. Aspen Ladd is she's a monster, dude. When she's
I think that there's definitely paths to victory for Ronda in that one. Because I think that Aspen's striking still needs some work to it. But I don't think it's bad enough to where she'd get outboxed really badly by Ronda, who doesn't have the best striking or anything like that. And then on the ground, I believe she'd probably just need to, and we got to consider too, let's imagine, right, the whole point of this is Ronda's coming back to fight them right now. So Ronda, after this time off and everything, I think that the Ladd would just need to avoid submissions on the ground for the most part, but
yeah,
hard to tell. And then Pennington, I think that's a favorable one for Ronda. Aldana, favorable for Aldana on the feet, absolutely.
I think Aldana is a tough one for Ronda.
Yeah, she would. Of course, that's kind of similar. Aldana similar to Jermaine, I think. In the case that Ronda has to run in and get a hold of her, but if she doesn't, she's getting lit up. Yeah. Pena, I'd probably favor Ronda in that one. I think slightly.
Yep.
Pena doesn't have the best striking either. Vieira all day. I think that's one of the worst matchups. one of the worst actually. I would definitely give the edge to Vieira there. Yana, I think Yana could beat her as well.
I don't think that Yana would win.
Gotta remember, man, Yana's big. She was a former featherweight, and then just her style and everything.
I don't think that she would.
And similar to a lot of these cases, Ronda has to rush in and get a hold of them and everything. Sarah McMahon, we did see that one a while ago, of course. Stopped early, in my opinion. Would it go differently this time?
Probably
yes. Not. Yes, it would go differently, but it
would go differently, yeah. Just like
Sarah,
the Holly Holm fight.
Yeah, but Sarah would probably, man, she just falls apart. Unfortunately, it's very upsetting. Yeah. And then Renault, yeah, I think Ronda would win that one as well. And then these 15, do we even look at them? Landsberg, yes, she beats Macy. A similar case to it's a lot of these other ones. Ronda has to rush in, and then Macy is one of the hardest hitters in the division. Could very well put her out as well. But if Ronda gets a hold of her,
any of these girls, other than Landsberg, so Macy, Pinay, Sajara, Avila, they could all knock her out.
Oh yeah,
because they're all have power.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Yeah,
Avila would be tough too for her.
Oh yeah, that would be a very rough one as well. So
the thing about Ronda Rousey is, of course, her judo is great. Her her submission game is very good. But her striking, if she were to ever come back to MMA, she has to go to a different gym. Otherwise, it would be the same thing. We would see the same shit all over again. So it wouldn't even be. It wouldn't be her beating these girls. Like, these girls would be beating her. I think. I mean, MMA has changed since she fought.
Oh yeah.
These girls are fucking. They're like well-rounded fighters. They're not one-dimensional. None of these girls really are one-dimensional fighters.
Yeah, very true. And got some other people's picks coming in here. Stamina with his.
Stamina says Rousey beats Landsberg, Kanzad, Eubanks, Kunitskaya, and maybe Avila and Macy too, not the others.
So he's more in the boat with me. Like, I think I obviously favored a lot of these a bit more over Ronda, but yeah, similar names to who I'd give advantages to as well. Then Yusef asked about Megan. See, that's a very similar case to, let's say GDR or Aldana, like I was saying, and the length is the largest in this case too with Megan. So as long as that's on the feet, Ronda is fucked. But if she gets a hold of Megan, then of course things change dramatically and it's pretty much over. But otherwise, that's the thing with most of these matchups. It's like, well, does Ronda get a hold of her? But if not, she's done.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Is does Ronda get a hold of them and does she put them on their backs? No way Ronda beats Anderson, in my opinion. I think Megan might just be too much woman for Ronda.
Yeah, that's a big order, tall order, literally. Got the puns going tonight. But so yeah, that's definitely that was a fun question there, Alex. Thank you for both of those, and makes you think, but it also kind of shows you that Ronda should probably just stay retired.
Go back to WWE.
Yeah,
WrestleMania's coming up.
All right, we're not going to talk wrestling this week.
Why not?
We have a couple times recently, but all right, that is it.
You're the one with the DX background.
This is true. So I got to balance it out. Thank you for the questions pre-show today, you guys, and keep on throwing at us whatever you got in the live chat here. Now it is time for the boatload of news that we got this week.
Yeah,
and to continue over with somebody who we just mentioned, Rocky P was in the news this week.
Unfortunately, Raquel Pennington was suspended by USADA for 6 months, and then she can come back on May 7th, as you see there. So she took some pills that were prescription from a doctor. She didn't go to USADA and ask if it was okay at first, and she actually went to USADA and said, "Hey, I'm taking these pills." And then USADA said, "Okay, well, here's a suspension."
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, she did do it the right way, though.
She did it the exact fucking way that she was supposed to do it, that she should have done it.
Yeah.
Other than before taking the pills that were prescribed to her by a doctor, before asking if USADA if it was okay for her to take them.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's where things went wrong, obviously. But this really isn't too bad. May 7th, the suspension was retroactive to November or whatever, right around her last fight, if I'm remembering correctly. But she came out, of course, and posted the long message here. We won't read it all for you, but if you want to glance over it right there, it is there for you to see. So
she just basically said what I just said. I mean, she told the story like she took the pills. She went to the doctor, took the pills, and then told USADA, and USADA fucking said you're suspended. But
honesty is all you can ask for, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I asked Jeff Nowitzki questions. He never responded to me, that fucker. he used to actually respond to my shit.
And then you started calling him a fucker, and now he's not going to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, you fuck, Jeff. You fuck. Yeah, he doesn't respond. He didn't respond to me, but I asked him like, what was the point of this suspension if she can fucking come back in May, which is only a couple months away at this point. What was the point of letting this out now? It got people all riled up and shit, like people were fucking pissed off. Like it's stupid. It's kind of like the marijuana thing.
Yeah. It's just following the rules, I guess. It only came out because Raquel put it out there.
Because she said it herself. Yeah. Like, so why didn't USADA say something? That's literally their job.
Well, they don't do that anymore, remember?
Right. They don't do that anymore. Yeah.
They changed that. So
yeah,
that's why. But...
So all they do is suspend now.
You get a suspension.
They show up at people's houses at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, asking for piss tests, and then give them suspensions. We saw this fucking crap.
All right. Well, Rocky will be back soon, and we will move on from that to more hopefully good news. Hopefully, fingers crossed here. So,
UFC potentially looking to book event in Singapore with Zhang Weili headliner and a Yan Xiaonan fight. Let's see. Had heard rumblings of this, and that Yan the Fury Xiaonan will also be on the card. Yan versus Joanna in Singapore, but Joanna said no, not happening.
No, that was just Nick saying that would be cool, right? Like he's not saying that's a part of anything.
No, he put fire emoji.
Yeah. So he thinks that would be a great fight, and I cannot disagree with him. How could you possibly? But
I mean, it would be a great fight. Yeah.
So everything that we know about this Singapore possibility is right in front of us right here. This is all the info. John has talked about this on his show earlier this week. Shout out to the man, John Yunko, who, I think he's also got his podcast going right now, but don't jump over there. I shouldn't have said that. So good stuff from him always.
You definitely should not go watch John.
Watch him after us, of course. But
after.
Yeah. So, this would be awesome. This would be very cool, right? If they can have an event in Singapore.
I mean, this is what we've been talking about.
Yeah. I mean, we just want to see Weili defend the title against fucking anybody. Doesn't matter who. Put her in there with Hannah Cyphers.
Yeah, I don't think any of us care who she fights at this fucking point. She can fight the local bum, and I would be fine with it. I just want to see Weili fight now.
And then in Singapore, doesn't have to travel.
Year.
I know. It's probably going to be longer than a year at this point. But so yeah, in Singapore potentially, of course, there are roadblocks to this. You would imagine the UFC has not done an event outside of Abu Dhabi or Vegas since May, when they had the Jacksonville ones, of course, at the beginning of the pandemic, really getting gnarly in America. One championship has had their events, obviously, as we talked about the most recent one earlier, has had their events in Singapore as they are based there and, doing their thing. But now, apparently, with the new president in America, it could change the restrictions or lack thereof for traveling in and out of the country in America and all that. So you would have to imagine that if the UFC does pull off a Singapore event, which you think they should be able to, there will either be very, 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 very few American fighters or none at all. And I say very few just because one championship has had a couple, 2 or 3, American fighters compete on their shows since the pandemic started. So I don't think the UFC would be able to get away with too many, if any, at all, considering new restrictions and travel boundaries, all that kind of stuff. So then, in that case, let's assume, let's just assume that Weili gets to headline, gets to fight, gets to defend. In that case, it has to be against Yan Xiaonan, doesn't it? Because if there's no outsiders able to come in, Rose, Carla, there you go. Unless you want to run back Joanna, but I don't know if Yan is also
I think they would do Joanna before they do Yan. They don't want to do. I don't think that they want to do
outside of China.
Weili and Yan yet. I think they want Yan to do well, to build herself up, Weili to get a couple wins, and then go to China and do a huge show in China. I don't think they want to do it without a lot of fans in attendance.
They shouldn't.
Yeah,
right?
but we did see Conor McGregor in Abu Dhabi without a lot of fans in attendance.
The interesting thing about kind of having a China event, we ultimately, and let's say still during pandemic times, is like, from what I know, I think numbers are gotten a lot better in China, of course, and they have the WLF. One of the top Chinese organizations over there has had plenty of MMA events going on in 2020, and that's where Xi Ming competed in 2020. Shout out, shameless plug, I should say, for my chat with Xi Ming. Check that out if you have not yet. That's where she fought, and I think that they had pretty normal audiences for the most part. So I don't know. I think with them though, it might be a thing where people aren't allowed to come in as well.
Yeah.
So it's all just very tricky, and
how pissed would Chatri and 1 be if the UFC
comes on in?
Yeah, went into Singapore, like they're pretty much their home base through this shit for now.
Yep.
If the UFC went into Singapore and ran a couple of shows, dude, Chatri would be so mad. We might we might actually see pissed off Chatri, because he gets pretty fucking bitchy sometimes. But we might actually see like the pissed off Chatri, and he might actually go after Dana White.
That would be incredible.
I would love it.
See promoter wars.
I want that drama, dude. Give me that drama. Go to Singapore, UFC. I want to see Chatri fucking go ham.
Yeah, like, of course, it is important to note that the UFC has gone to Singapore before, and the last time that they were there was November 2019, I believe, for Askren versus Maia.
But it's different times.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I just wanted to note that. But yeah, right now, where all one events are in Singapore, like that, that's their version of, that's their Vegas.
Yes.
It's their Vegas. So, to come on in would be definitely potentially very funny in terms of backstage politics.
I don't think Chatri would let it happen. I think he would pay people off to be like, no, you better not fucking book the UFC in Singapore.
Yeah, well, they'd have to find different venues, I believe, as well. Like I don't know how many venues there are for Singapore in terms of holding MMA events. I'm sure there are definitely some that could be found, but like what the one does, the Singapore Indoor Stadium or whatever it's called, that's like where they've been going and everything. But I don't know. It definitely it's very interesting in that regard, aside from just having fights in a different area and all that stuff. But we will see, hopefully. And Yusef, yep, that is very true.
Illegal. That's what fucking Chatri would be saying.
Yeah, he'd be flipping it back on Dana.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully, we just hope to see these fighters very soon and back in action. So yeah, before we roll on with the news, though, Alex did drop us a reoccurring question from last week.
He said, "How about Tabitha Richys win?" Yeah,
Well, you were right, Steve. You beat my time. You beat my time. I said 3 minutes. And what was it, Alex? If you could remind us, it was around 2, wasn't it? Maybe 1:30.
quick.
It was
Man,
very
pretty
quick. Best way to put it.
Little monster she is.
Not surprised whatsoever about that.
No.
Hopefully she gets a worthy opponent next. Somebody she should be fighting. So yeah.
Yep.
Definitely looked very good. But all right, to move along, we have still plenty to go here. Try and speed it up maybe, but let's see. All right, here we are. Strawweight time. She's back.
Jessica Pinay is going to take on Hannah Goldy at UFC 260 on March 27th. I actually really like this fight. I think it's going to be a fun one. Jessica Pinay is always in the fight. But Hannah Goldy is pretty fucking tough.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that kind of goes for both of them. And, Jessica Pinay, of course, has been in plenty of, fantastic fights over the course of her career. In my opinion, maybe one of the best fights you'll ever see. Well, not maybe, but yes. Man, okay, it was 1 minute and 9 seconds. Jeez, it was quicker than everything I just said. Tabitha Richy, the freak. I was alluding to Jessica Pinay and Michelle Waterson, one of the best fights you'll ever see. Of course, that was a while ago, and Jessica Pinay has not fought since 2017. Now, of course, had plenty of injury stuff, the USADA stuff. Just been a rough stretch, a little bad luck here. And then even in her last fight against what it was Danielle Taylor, arguably was robbed of the win in that one. She looked pretty solid. And now finally coming back and still with the UFC. Got to think it's her last chance here because that would be 4 in a row if she loses. And Hannah Goldy is she's looking to rebound as well, right? What was her last fight? I don't even remember.
It's been a while for Hannah Goldy.
Yeah, she got injured out of one, I believe. So, yeah, of course not as long as Jessica Pinay has been gone, but this is a very interesting matchup and, pretty solid matchmaking to see where Pinay's at after all this time away and if Goldy can advance her career off of a very seasoned veteran, very experienced competitor, and one of the OGs, really. So looking forward to it. It's a very, very solid matchup, I would say. Yeah.
Does Jessica Pinay still have her OnlyFans?
I haven't heard about her not having it.
Alex, you would know.
Would he? Is he all about that?
Alex would know.
Alex would know. We'll leave it at that.
My boy, Alex.
So yeah, look forward to that one. I love Jessica Pinay. She is a very, very nice person and always fun to talk to. And hopefully, you can get something arranged here before this fight.
Fucking hot, dude.
Did you say low key?
Yeah, like people. I don't think that people fucking like realize
she's not in the spotlight too much anymore. So.
Yeah, she's fucking when those pics with like Angela Hill and like Felice Herrig and stuff, Carla Esparza. They were all a little crew or whatever. Dude, she's like the hottest out of all of them. Alex,
marketable.
You're putting very lackluster. Oh, very lackluster. That's disappointing.
I love that you knew that he knew. And yes, Stamina, of course, always trying to be the professional side here.
Bro, we don't like professional here.
I talk to these people a lot more than you do, Steve. So,
right, you do.
I don't need them seeing me be weird on accident.
Don't be weird.
I did actually. I got to meet Jessica actually at the last. Yeah, right. I met her at the last MMA event that I got to cover, the Bellator 238 show. She was there with Kat. I don't know if they were there for somebody or just because the event was in, what was that, in LA for when Cyborg fought. So she was there and I met her and it was really cool after, you know, that big story that I did with her the year before, I think. You guys can check that out too. Another shameless plug, Jessica Pinay and the journey to self-discovery.
Years for that.
I know that was a big one though. That was a big moment, or, you know, an important thing for her to really open up about her anxiety and mental issues that she was going through.
That was good shit from Drake.
Yeah,
Jessica's the one that did the work.
Yes, of course, but always very grateful to her for opening up to me like that. And you know, we talk every now and then since then. So
tell her I think
all right, I'll let her know, definitely. I'll send her a message right now. All right. Well, speaking of Steve's favorite fighters to look at and most marketable choices, this was somebody who was on the ballot, I believe, for the awards to close out 2020.
Was on the ballot. Yes, she was on the ballot.
So,
dude, she was like number 3 on the ballot.
She was up there. So take it away.
Tracy Cortez is back against Justine Kish on April 17th. Location to be announced. We don't know where it's going to be, but assuming Vegas, right?
Yes, I'm assuming Vegas because Dana said they probably won't be back to Abu Dhabi until like summertime, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yep. Because that's where you want to be in the summertime is Abu Dhabi.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. How funny is that? But hey, they got the new stadium now, so hopefully it's very nice and air conditioned, I would imagine. This fight, if you're a fighter, you would hope so. Tracy Cortez and Justine Kish, though, for Cortez's return to flyweight. Boy, this is a very interesting matchup. You know, of course, Justine Kish, a very solid striker. Was had the Sabina Mazo loss her last time out, but was looking very good until she ate that head kick.
Oh yeah,
until she ate the head kick. I don't think Cortez will exactly be throwing too many of those on. I assume Kish will be taller in this one, but you never know.
Cortez is a shoddy.
Yeah, a little shrimpy.
Shoddy.
Shoddy.
But shorty and hot together.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. You're educating me here as we continue. It's like, is this some kind of movie reference? Get Shorty.
Get Shotty.
Get Shotty. Hey, there's a good little spoof to make. But yeah, this fight comes down to, I think, if Tracy Cortez, of course, can get it to the ground, because Kish should have a pretty decent striking advantage here, I think. And Alex says it's the last fight on her contract, which I was unaware of. This is Kish, that is her last fight on her contract. So
definitely not Tracy Cortez's last fight.
Right. Well, yeah, she re-signed like two maybe after her last one, maybe. But either way, yeah. So that's some motivation, especially off of the loss. It's a pretty decent stylistic matchup for both of them, I would say. You know, their strengths are pretty obvious and pretty evident here. And we'll see how it plays out. I'm not mad at this matchmaking at all. I think it's pretty fair.
Yeah, I like the fight. But I like Tracy Cortez more than the fight, so
there's that. But yeah, so April 17th.
I can't wait.
Ways away.
Can't wait for Tracy to fight again.
Yeah, as everyone's pointing out, Tracy is still very new. I know. I was just reading. I didn't think that it was her last fight. Clarification, everybody. So
I knew what you were saying.
Right. So
I understood.
Thank you. All right, and now over to Japan for some news as we got some brackets sorted out.
So Deep Jules 32. We talked about this last week? Was it last week?
That or 2 weeks ago, whenever they announced the tournament.
The opening round atomweight tournament bouts are set. As you can see there's only four fights.
Yep.
There's
fighters,
only
4
fights, 8
fights.
fighters. Yes.
Hikaru Ayono versus Emi Sato, of course. Hikaru, the last title challenger against Tomoe Sawa. That's a very good fight right there to draw in the lottery style that they do. Sakura from the last Rising show taking on Murakami. Good one there too.
Fight.
Yeah. Siwoo Park versus Nisei. Saori Oshima and Emi Tomomatsu, the veteran, the
Tomomatsu.
favorite probably in my opinion.
For the whole tournament?
Yeah, I mean she's the most experienced by a good margin. So I don't know.
Can you see Sato winning this?
I could, but that's a very tough opening round bout.
First fight, yeah.
Yeah, against Ayono, who I could very well see make it to the finals as well. But Sakura though is a dark horse, I think, despite her age and everything. I just really liked what I saw in that fight she had at Rising 26. So these are some very fun matches to start things off, and I don't know if they do it bracket style. I don't know if it's lottery round, like round by round, because this, of course, isn't set up in a literal bracket, but these are just the opening matchups. So we will see how that works out. I could probably find it somewhere, but also I wanted to show the poster because the Deep Jewels posters are fucking awesome.
Some of the best in MMA.
Look at that shit. All the colors.
It's great.
I'd love to see it. Dave's not here anymore, right? I know that he appreciates himself some Deep Jewels posters, so
Moni does as well.
Yes. Yeah, you cannot go wrong. They do it right over there. That looks like a movie poster, dude. I really like that one.
Yeah.
So sick. Good shit from Deep Jewels, as always. Looking forward to that tournament, which is that event, Deep Jewels 32, is on 3/7. So that is next month. Yeah, March 7th. Right on. Coming up. And of course, plenty of other good fights on that card as well. So, and sticking with Asia before we get back to some UFC news. There's Moni saying she loves it. Yep, knew it. Knew it. So, and speaking of youngsters like Sakura, we have Victoria Lee's debut.
Yeah, so that's Christian and Angela Lee's younger sister, only 16 or 17. Yeah. 16, 17, one of those. Look at her, so young. She's going to make her debut against Sunizis Ryzen at One Fist of Fury on April 17th in Singapore, of course, for one. But yeah, she's the youngster and another Lee in one.
I know, they got the whole family now.
Yeah, it's a family thing now.
So this is a little bit surprising of a matchup to make with Victoria Lee for her professional debut at 16, 17 years old, because if you remember, excuse me, Sunisa Srisen, she was Stamp's last MMA opponent, I believe. And Stamp was only her only loss. Stamp is Sunisa is 4-1, and has some solid wins and experience under her belt, and so for them to throw her at Victoria Lee, a little bit surprising. We will see. I guess very quickly how legit Victoria Lee is in fight number one, but
pretty crazy.
I did not expect to see them give her somebody with over 2 fights maximum, but here we are with somebody like Sunisa, who's definitely going to have the advantage in pretty much all these areas, right, that you can look at. So, very intrigued by that.
I mean, she's the Lee, so right. I like it. I mean, I'm down to watch her fight, but I mean, she might get worked, which is kind of sad,
Yeah, I know. Almost set up for failure, or to overcome the odds, you could say.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, youngster might fucking pull it off and shock us all.
Yeah, very much possible. So, all right, we will move on from that as we get back to the UFC and maybe not bummer news. I don't know. How do you feel about this one, Steve?
Yeah, well, so Hannah Cyphers is out, and Sam Hughes is in against Emily Whitmire on February 27th at UFC Vegas 20. Yeah, so we weren't exactly pumped for the Cyphers and Whitmire fight. Sam Hughes makes it a little bit better, I think, because Sam Hughes is kind of fun. She's a fun fighter. She's gritty. She's down to fight for sure. I like this fight a little bit more now, but still kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not a loser leaves town matchup anymore. I would be a little bit surprised if Sam Hughes was to lose and then be cut, after especially filling in on
Twice.
both occasions. Yeah, both occasions for her UFC fights now. And to take on somebody like Emily Whitmire here, a much more favorable matchup than let's say Tecia Torres, of course. So yeah, not mad at all at this replacement. I think slightly more intriguing just because there's still a lot that we want to see and have yet to see from Sam Hughes. So
well, we didn't see much from her against Torres.
Right.
I mean, Tecia Torres just fucking was the best Tecia Torres that we've ever seen.
Sliced on through her, yeah. So so yeah, I'm totally fine with this replacement. I think it's a great opportunity for Sam to come on in, get that first UFC win, and maybe a tougher matchup for Emily Whitmire in the hopes to keep her job. But we will find out. We will definitely find out. I'm not mad at it. A solid replacement, and hopefully whatever happened to Hannah, wishing her the best always, even though we have plenty of thoughts on her career at the moment. But yes, wishing her the best, little Hannah. So
little Hannah.
All right, and our last news bit of the day, you guys. A bummer, and Steve found out about it right before we went on
literally right before. So Marion Renault is out versus Macy Chiasson, and they're not off. The card is not, or the fight is not scrapped. It's just moving back because Renault tested positive for COVID-19, which is unfortunate. And of course, we wish her a speedy recovery.
Yeah, definitely. Sucks because this fight was gonna happen next week, right?
Yeah. Next weekend on the Burns and Usman undercard.
Exactly. So sucks that we're missing out on that now. Earlier. What's that?
Would have been a banger.
And it will be. Steve. Yep. It'll still happen. Have faith.
Yep.
The biggest thing to note about this, really, I think, is that the virus is still doing its thing to fighters who are competing in Vegas, right? Because it's funny, you notice how things go pretty swimmingly over in Abu Dhabi where they have the bubble and all that, but in Vegas there ain't shit. So everybody's dropping out all the time.
I like that stamina. Marion Renault.
A little amoeba emoji.
Emoji of a cute little virus.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's just interesting to see not only this fight, but there have been a couple other fights falling through again because back in Vegas and people just don't care. The UFC and fighters apparently don't care enough to keep themselves out of danger from this goddamn plague. But wishing Marion well, of course. And
pretty wild. I think once this is all done, it'll be really interesting to go back and see how many fights were scrapped due to COVID in Las Vegas during this,
right.
their different stints that they've been in Vegas since COVID started. Because it's been a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that somebody, maybe Bloody Elbow, just because I feel like they might have been keeping track of this. I know somebody out there has kept track of.
Are they?
It might just be overall cancellations. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
like Vegas specific, but I'm sure it would say in there if they did a nice thorough job, which they generally do. If it is Bloody Elbow, whoever did this list that I did see, I just don't remember the specifics of it. So I'll have to check that out after we're done recording here. But yeah, no, that's a great point, dude. Just because it's been a lot. It's mostly been in Vegas. They've almost like all been for Vegas stuff, it seems like. So yeah, bummer. But at least the fight is still scheduled,
I'm
right?
DMing Steffi Haynes right now.
All right. We'll get a quick answer while we are live, hopefully.
Hopefully. She usually gets back to me pretty quickly.
Right on. All right. Well, with that in mind, we are done with the news of the week, you guys. That was a whole lot, wasn't it? Jeez, that was loaded, I would say. And now we're on to our preview for the weekend, UFC Vegas 18 time. Let's get into it.
Okay, so Molly McCann versus Lara Procopio. It's a flyweight fight, of course. Molly McCann returns, trying to turn her fortunes around a little bit, and I would assume that she would win this fight, right?
I favor her. I do. I think this is definitely a very winnable matchup for her against Procopio here. And, both of them coming off losses, looking to rebound. Of course, Procopio's was a bit closer than the Tyler Santos loss for Molly. Procopio took on Carol Rosa in, what was that, August 2019. So it's been a while since she's fought. Was supposed to take on Courtney Casey last year, but virus canceled the event that they were at. Now she's back taking on Molly, who's also looking to rebound and, had her momentum halted. Yeah, if you remember that Rosa fight, it was a pretty dirty, in your face kind of, cage battle, clinch, dirty boxing kind of stuff that they were going at it between Procopio and Rosa just kind of flourishes in those areas and situations. But Procopio was able to land, a good amount of damage and dish it out in return, but not enough to get the win, of course, but enough for somebody to give her the win, as it was a split decision. And Molly also does very well in those areas. And, at range, I think this should be a fight where she can dictate a little bit better than, let's say, with the Tyler Santos, who was long and rangy. That's just typically kind of a fighter who Molly is going to face, because she is shorter. She's going to face these longer, rangier fighters. But as we saw with, Cachoeira, all of those fighters really on her 3-fight winning streak, she handled it very well. So taking on somebody who is about, similar here, obviously, as you can see, the height, but a very long reach actually for Procopio, and then everything else is the same. So if she can just get by that, I think she will be able to, as we've seen in these previous fights, like I was saying, but she should be able to feel a bit more comfortable in all areas against somebody of a similar stature when she feels pretty comfortable against longer fighters. So yeah, I think she should be able to rebound here. And if she wants to take it to the ground, could be very interesting. Procopio capable there as well, but I just like more of what I've seen from Molly throughout, especially recently, in recent years in the UFC and everything. Whereas Lara has not been too active as of late, so kind of hard to tell with her, but you never know, I guess. And Molly, she's never lost back-to-back fights, so I think that when she's coming off a loss too, she's all that much hungrier and motivated. So I like Molly in this one, and I don't know about a finish necessarily, but I think she should be able to get a pretty comfortable unanimous
finish this fight. I think she should be able to finish this fight. I I don't see why she shouldn't. I think she's just gonna come out here hungry. You know, she has a lot to prove still, and she's
Yeah.
willing. She's willing to fight and go to war for it. That's kind of why she's like a favorite, a fan favorite. You know, because
Hmm.
she's so damn down.
Yeah, she's a gamer, dude. She's one of those fighters who is always down for a brawl. And
Yep.
you remember the meatball eye that she had against Priscilla Cachoeira.
Yeah.
Really incredible. Really incredible that that fight was not stopped, because that eye was
It
about
should
as
have been. I mean,
closed as
it
it.
should have been stopped. Yeah. It was. She
She would
can.
have been pissed though, because that was a clear win for her. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but it should have been stopped, right? But I mean, of course, like in hindsight, she got the win, so it's all good.
yep, yep, exactly. So
And I do agree with stamina.
yep,
Molly's tenacity can make her reckless at times. It's her fight to lose, I feel. That's exactly how I feel. As she goes out there and fucking she just wants to bang, man. Like, and it's absolutely her fight to lose. And it would kind of suck if she did lose this fight, to be honest. Like I like her as a fighter. I like her, she's funny, she's cool, and she's a good fighter, and she's just down for the fucking fight, man.
yep, definitely. So
Her eye
all
was
right, I was a balloon.
using the emojis tonight. I
I
love it.
know, killing it. Um, but all right, so I think unanimous, pretty comfortable decision should be for Molly. But you
Yeah.
think she'll find the finish? What's your official pick, buddy?
I mean, yeah, I would hope that she gets a TKO of some sort. I mean, I would hope that she gets the finish in the second or third rounds. This is
Alright.
this is a this is a winnable fight for her, very winnable fight for her, and she should absolutely win this fight, I think.
Yeah, it's funny too to think about kind of Molly's UFC career, because mostly we think about her
It's a
striking
lot of
and her.
it's a lot of highs
Yeah,
and lows for her.
yeah, but her we think about like her nice boxing that she showed off and everything. But you look at like her Cage Warriors run, and she utilized her grappling a lot. So maybe that's like something she should get back to, mix it up a little bit, and maybe she will after just seeing how the last fight went and everything. But either way, I think that she's the rightful favorite, no matter how you spin this one. But yeah,
But also, she wasn't fighting Cachoeira's
right.
in Warriors. I mean, like, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, like
Yeah,
she was dominant. She was pretty damn dominant in Cage Warriors. She hasn't been dominant in the UFC, and
well, her winning streak was quite dominant.
yeah,
But maybe just not against the absolute best that it could have been. But either way, we're both taking Molly. So
yeah.
stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Meatballs.
Right.
It's gonna be should be good. Should be good. It's always fun. Molly McCann fights. Meatball Molly, as we've talked about plenty tonight.
Okay, so Molly is minus 160 and Procopio is plus 130.
Okay. That's fair, I think. I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. It was squash, right?
Yeah. But all right. So picks are in. We will move on now to unfortunately the second and last fight from the ladies on this card. And mentioned Carol Rosa, but she's in action as well.
So she's fighting Jocelyn Edwards, as we talked about last week. Unfortunately, Nico Montano is out of this fight.
Ugh.
Jocelyn Edwards did step in on what 2 weeks two weeks notice, or was it 1 week notice?
Roughly. I don't think it's 2 full weeks. It was less than that, probably. Yeah.
Crazy, but she's young, she's hungry, and fucking, she's got a fight ahead of her with Rosa though.
Yes, she does. Yeah, this is a very interesting one. And, one of those, Edwards has proven to be one of those fighters who's game to fight anytime, as we saw with the Wu fill in. And now, similar to Sam Hughes, stepping in for her second fight, too, as well, except difference is Jocelyn Edwards won her debut.
Yeah.
Yeah, winning, looking very solid. And, taking on somebody like Carol Rosa, who I think that this is a pretty solid matchup for her. Of course, Rosa, I think, as we've seen in most of her wins, she kind of needs to make the fight ugly, close the distance, get in there, put her on the cage, put her on her back potentially, as she did against Vanessa Mello. But again, that's Vanessa Mello, who you know how we feel about her.
You feel about her. Specifically, how you feel about her.
Yeah. So Jocelyn Edwards, a lot more upside, just a better overall fighter, a better striker than both of them combined, probably. Sky appears to be the limit with her, and it's very cool to see she's coming in like this, and maybe she's better when she doesn't game plan. She looked very good against Wu. And this is a fight where I think if she can dictate the action, keep Rosa off her, she should be able to win pretty handedly once again, as she did against Wu. And then even then, off the back, remember she was threatening with, the armbar and everything. So if Carol gets her down, it's not going to be the smoothest of sailing. I don't think there will definitely be some threats there from Edwards, but on the feet, I think will be where she's best suited and will probably be able to keep it. But, we will find out. And I just like a lot more of what I've seen from Jocelyn Edwards and Carol Rosa. Just she looks like she's got a better, she has a better killer instinct. We've seen that she's more of a fighter who goes out there and, can utilize their game plans to a higher effect, I think, than Carol Rosa. Not to say Carol Rosa isn't, a capable prospect in her own right with 13-3 and everything. It's just the way that you look at how they're both winning, and just like what I've seen more from Edwards and her striking and overall defense and, just everything she's bringing to the table. Whereas Rosa still has to show a bit more. And she's kind of been in the same boat as Procopio where activity hasn't been the highest. Of course, she had, 3 cancellations for Julia Avila, which, probably a bullet dodged, if we're going to be totally honest. So,
yeah, sure.
I think Jocelyn, man, going to keep striking while the iron is hot in this one, and should be able to pick Rosa apart as long as the fight is at distance and she keeps her off her. So
she's so good, man. Her striking is so good.
Yeah, I'm going to take another unanimous decision for this event. So
I'm going for a knockout.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think Edwards will clip her and fucking finish it somehow.
That would be big. That would be very big for her to just keep this going.
Pretty high on this girl, man. She's legit. She's fucking legit, dude.
And she's got an entire country behind her. The only Panamanian fighter out there.
Yeah, she does.
So, a history in the making for her and, the nation behind her. So, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good. Should be good. But your official prediction? So?
Yeah, second round.
Second round.
Yep.
2 second rounders. 2 finishes.
Yep.
I like it. And we are in the same boat.
Blood.
I need some blood.
We had a week off of
right
without UFC. We need some blood.
More violence. We didn't get as much blood as we could have at 257. God damn it.
Yeah, we did.
But yeah, that is UFC Vegas 18, everybody, and should be a solid card overall. I mean, the return of the Reem taking on Volkov. That's a hell of a main event.
It's a really good card, actually.
They're very good matchup on this one.
Dude, you know what fight I want to talk about? Pantoja.
Oh, right. Of course. And Cape. Of course.
Yes. Dude, that's going to be a fucking crazy ass fight, I think.
Oh, I really fingers crossed nothing insane happens.
Yes, Gabe.
I'm finally fingers crossed nothing fucking happens to where he gets where this fight doesn't happen. We're very close. So that would suck because he was supposed to debut like 6 months ago at this point. Didn't get to fight all of last year. His last fight was Ryzen 20. It was Ryzen 20, yeah, when he won the belt. Jeez, that's crazy to think about. So I know I shouldn't have put that out there, Moni. I apologize to myself and everybody.
Kind of shit.
I know I'm too much of a realist.
He does this shit all the time, and then he just doesn't learn, Moni.
I know.
It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I know. But yes, I'm very much excited for that as well. How could you not be? So good card overall. But don't forget, you guys, follow us, like, share, and subscribe if you don't and haven't already for some odd reason.
So Stephanie got back to me. Stephanie Haynes got back to me.
Okay, what'd she say?
She said that she sent me the link. Comprehensive list of UFC fighters who have tested positive for COVID-19. So it's by Trent Reinsmith. You go down. It's the whole.
Oh, right.
Can you see it?
I know. I remember this now. I did see it. But yeah, there you go.
Screen.
Yeah.
So these are all the fighters that have through the pandemic. Yeah, keep on scrolling, keep on going. Yep, keep it going, Steve. Yep. all of those fighters. Oh, there it is. Finally, the end.
Does it say at the bottom the total? I thought it might have.
Oh, I don't know.
No. Well, come on, add that in there, Trent. Because
maybe it's at the top. I didn't.
Really could be at the top.
I didn't read it.
Could be it's just continuing, so just keep it
just keeps
open.
Keeps on going and going and going.
Yes. But definitely check that out, you guys, if you are interested in that, because it is
55. It's at the top. Total number of reported UFC fighters who tested positive for COVID-19 as of 1/1/21 equals 55. But that's as of 1/1. But he did update it. He just didn't update the total. So there have been a few more since 1/1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. So add 7 to 55, and you got 62. 62. Yes, stamina. Yes.
How does that even work still?
It's a 10, by the way. And yes, I need an upgrade. You're right. Fuck, dude.
Amazing. But anyway, before Steffi cut me off there, that wasn't Steve, but that was her getting back to us with the good old info. My guess was right. I knew it was Bloody Elbow. Definitely check that out, you guys. Follow us, like, share, and subscribe if you don't already for some odd reason. Hit the notification bell so you get the updates when we're live and dropping just regular videos, as there's plenty of other content on here. James Lynch throwing out his interviews all the time. Great stuff from Mr. Lynch. You know that. And at Drake Riggs _ at Steve K _MMA, at the Scrap News, all the places. Subscribe to the Scrap channel. You know the drill. Just repeating myself week after week. But Steve, what do you got for us, man? I know you did your MMA inks, I believe. Did you end up doing them?
Yeah, I have one done. And then a fighter had surgery. So yeah, can't really interview while they're in surgery. So
that'd be something.
So gonna have to wait it out on that one, which was gonna be a fun one, man, but it's all good. It's all good. And then I do have the Fanboy MMA podcast, which returned last week. I actually got a lot of listeners for my 1
Absence
week.
Makes the heart grow fonder.
I guess so. I mean, I wasn't really expecting the number that I saw when I looked at it the other day. But yeah, Fanboy MMA podcast on all of your podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcast. Fanboy MMA podcast.
Very nice. Very nice. And then as for moi, I am always working on plenty of stuff, as you guys know. What was it this past week? Since I'm not gonna do the shameless plugs on everything that I already did last week, but since then, I dropped that chat with Alexander Romanov, of course, top UFC heavyweight prospect, 13-0, King Kong. Check that out if you haven't already. MyMAnews.com. On my Twitter, of course, it's where you can find it all. Did that one. The Tyler Santos interview that should be dropping here soon. SCMP MMA. And then I also spoke to the lady of the hour of UFC 257, Marina Rodriguez. Fantastic chat with her. Shout out, of course, to Mr. Alexander Carvalho for helping us with the translations. And yeah, that one will be dropping very soon as well. Good stuff from Marina. She is great. You guys very, very much implore you to go and check that one out when it is out. Also on SCMP MMA. And then some very exciting stuff in the works as well. Won't tell you until they're done. So stay tuned. As always, youtube.com/Drake Riggs. And just, follow my Twitter. It's all on there, as you know. So with that in mind, time to say thank you to the good people, Steve, and send us on our way, please.
All right. So thank you to Yusef, Moni, Stamina, Aaron, Eddie came in. Dave showed up.
Mr. Beckham was here.
That's Aaron. I said it.
Right.
And then Alex, thank you, Alex, also for the questions, for the great questions that you have weekly for us now. Love it. Until next week, y'all. Have fun watching the fights. Oh, we didn't talk about Paige Van Zandt. She returns to.
Is that this week?
BKFC. That's tomorrow. No, that's Friday. Friday. Paige Van Zandt returns to her debut.
Yeah.
And returns to Britton Hart against Britton Hart. Watch that if you guys can. Chris Lieben's on that card as well. Yes. So until next, and I interviewed him on MMA Inc. If you want to go check that out. Until next week, have fun watching this violence, y'all. Peace.